Getting a little spicy in the NBA as free agency nears. Looks like Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets have reached an impasse. According to Shams over at The Athletic, for those who don't know, Kyrie has until June 29th to either opt into his $36.9 million player option for next season, or if he opts out, he can become an unrestricted free agent. But keep in mind, June 29th is a very important date this month for the future of Kyrie Irving. Apparently, Brooklyn's pushing back, unwilling to give Kyrie the extension that he desires, which leaves the door open for Kyrie potentially to test out free agency or maybe opt in to the last year of his deal with the Brooklyn Nets in hopes of potentially getting traded from Brooklyn elsewhere. According to Shams, the three teams at this moment that would be suitors for Kyrie Irving are the Los Angeles Lakers, their building partners, the Los Angeles Clippers, and Kyrie Irving's current team, Brooklyn Nets, New York partners, the New York Knicks. So those are the three teams, Lakers, Clippers, Knicks, right now that Kyrie could see himself going forward with. I am just guessing here. I don't know this to be fact, but I read the story with Shams in The Athletic. It feels like Kyrie's team maybe put this story in the atmosphere. The reason why I say that is if you look at the teams that have been put out in the atmosphere, I just don't see Brooklyn doing that, because if the Brooklyn Nets are going to move on from Kyrie Irving, they can get better offers than what the Knicks, the Lakers, or the Clippers theoretically would be willing to offer. Not what they could offer, but theoretically what they would be willing to offer. I don't believe the Lakers are going to plan on trading LeBron James. I don't believe the Clippers would trade Kawhi Leonard, and I don't believe they would trade Paul George either. And I don't think the New York Knicks would trade Julius Randle. These are also three teams that have traded a lot of their picks away over the last few years to bring in talent. I just don't think these three teams have the most to offer to Brooklyn for Kyrie, which means this was something that his team likely put out. What I think about this entire situation is the Brooklyn Nets are finally fighting back. The Brooklyn Nets are not going to give Kyrie a 5-year deal because he hasn't shown them that he plans to play basketball for the next 5 years. He hadn't shown them that he can get through 1 year. And we're at this really, not only are we at an impasse with Brooklyn and Kyrie, but we're at an impasse with the NBA, and that's why the next collective bargain agreement is going to be really tough on the players, I believe so. Because if you're the Nets, if you let this talent like Kyrie walk out your door, you already paying $111 million to 6 guys next year. Joe Harris makes a lot of money. Ben Simmons makes a lot of money. Kevin Durant, obviously, justifiably so, makes a lot of money. If you let Kyrie Irving walk, you can't go bring another guy in to replace Kyrie. That's not how the NBA salary cap work. You just can't lose a guy and then bring him in. That's why bird rights are a thing. So Kyrie Irving could potentially walk and Brooklyn be left with nothing. The Nets are like, dang, we're letting this dude walk, not because he's not talented, not because he's not a great player, but because in the few years we've had him, year one, when Kevin Durant was out, Kyrie continuously got injured, missed significant time in year one. In year two, Kyrie Irving decided to sit out for a couple weeks after some idiots rioted at the Capitol. And then he finished the season on the mend. He was unavailable for the last couple games against the Milwaukee Bucks, a series in which the Nets lost. And then coming into last season, Kyrie was once again unavailable for his team, this time because he wouldn't take the vaccine. 3 years up, 3 years down. At the end of the day, Kyrie Irving has been unavailable for his team more times than not, whatever the reason may be. Some people are going to say vaccine should be thrown out. I don't care what you say. At the end of the day, in Kyrie Irving's career, more times than not, he has not been deemed dependable. I don't feel like the Brooklyn Nets should suffer because Kyrie Irving has been undependable, unreliable. That's the impasse that they're at. That's the impasse that the league is at. We will see how this bad boy plays out. But that was one of the biggest question marks going into this offseason. Would the Brooklyn Nets be willing to push back and say, yo, bro, you've been out more times than not. I can't give you 5 years today. And if the Nets are saying no to 5 years, if Kyrie's like, if y'all ain't going to give me 5 years, I'm walking. In my world, the Brooklyn Nets have all the answer they need about Kyrie Irving. If Kyrie thinks he's deserved a 5-year deal, I think two things. Number one, I think NBA players have a great ton of leverage. If this guy, as talented as he is, can try to get 5 years at whatever, $200 million with the way that he's not been available for his teams the last few years. The second thing I think is Kyrie Irving is pretty much telling you who he is as a player. If he believes that he's justifiably earned a 5-year Supermax type of extension, if you're Brooklyn, you have the right to say, man, we don't need this guy. He clearly is. We don't need this guy. And if they're meeting and talking and the Nets still don't feel confident that Kyrie Irving is going to be available for this team more times than not, if he ain't giving them that type of security, then maybe this is just a situation where both sides part ways. We're going to do more of a deep dive in future videos here and talk about every team specifically and potentially them bringing Kyrie into the fold. Kyrie did post a meme on Twitter following the news being broke by Shams, which to me just more and more validates me thinking that this was a Kyrie Irving play story in the atmosphere. Y'all let me know, of the Lakers, Clippers, and the Knicks, where would you like to see Kyrie Irving land if the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving decide to part ways?